Welcome back to Sophisticated Babe. This is a very special video for me because it marks the beginning of my baking journey. After sharing my introduction and my basic baking tools, I'm officially stepping into the kitchen to make my first bake. And guess what it is? Homemade meat pie. As you can see, I'm so excited to learn, and I'm going to be sharing every step of this journey with you. So let's step into the kitchen now. To start, I prepared my dough for the meat pie. I began by adding my flour, my sugar, salt, baking powder into a mixing bowl. I mixed it and I added my butter. I combined all the ingredients together properly, making sure the butter was well incorporated into the flour mixture. I continued mixing it until the texture started to look like bread crumbs. This step is very important because it will help create a soft and flaky dough for the meat pie. After getting the right texture, I started adding my water. I added the first portion of water and mixed everything together, but I noticed the dough was still dry. I wasn't coming together as I wanted, so I added a little more water and continued mixing. So with the second addition of water, everything started to come together better, and the dough became softer, smooth, and easier to work with. So I got the right consistency. I brought the dough together, set it aside, and placed it in the fridge to rest while I prepared my meat pie filling. This resting time helps the dough relax and makes it easier to work with when it's time to shape the pies. Now moving on to the filling, I started by preparing my meat. I'd already boiled the meat, but because I couldn't use my blender at the time, I used my manual hand blender to shred it into smaller pieces. For the fillings, I used diced carrots, diced Irish potatoes, my shredded meat, blended pepper and onions. These are the ingredients I'll be using for my filling. Now for the filling, I heated up my pan and added some vegetable oil. Then I added my blended pepper and onions and allowed it to fry for a few minutes to bring out the flavor. Next, I added my shredded meat and stirred everything together, allowing it to cook for a few minutes. Then I added a little water and I let it cook for a few seconds. I added my diced carrots, my diced potatoes, and mixed everything properly. After mixing, I added my seasonings. Since my meat was already cooked, I didn't need to cook it for too long. I just allowed all the flavors to come together. I mixed some corn flour with water, added it to my filling to help thicken it. After cooking completely, my meat pie was ready. Now it was time to bring everything together. I brought out my dough from the fridge and divided it into 3 parts. I did this so it would be easier for me to work with one portion at a time while keeping the rest aside. I took one part of the dough, rolled it out with my rolling pin. After rolling, I placed it on my meat pie cutter, checked the size, but I noticed the dough wasn't wide enough to cover the entire cutter, so I placed it back on my board and continued rolling until it was big enough to fit my meat pie cutter properly. I added my filling, applied some egg around the edges to help it seal completely. After sealing my meat pie with my meat pie cutter, I opened it to bring out my first shaped meat pie, and honestly, the joy I felt in that moment was priceless. Seeing the shape come out perfectly made me so happy. It was my first time making meat pie, and in that moment, I felt like I had achieved something special. It might seem like a small step, but for me, it was a big achievement because I was learning something new, and seeing my efforts come together right in front of me. That little moment gave me so much excitement and motivation to continue. So I repeated the same process until I used up all my dough and filling. Now, if you don't have a meat pie cutter, you can also use a plate or any round object you have at home. For the finishing touch, I used a fork to make small holes on top so the steam could escape while baking. I also brushed some egg on top of the meat pies to give them that beautiful golden color. Finally, I placed them in the oven and baked them for about 35 minutes. And here is the final result of my first homemade meat pie. I'm really happy with how they turned out, and I'm excited to keep improving. Thank you so much for watching and learning with me. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, and join me for more baking experiments. I'll see you in our next phase. Bye.